What's going on, everybody? Good to see you. I'm Susu. For those of you that don't know, I'm just sitting here looking at this. So this is an old message from, as you can see right there, Thursday, February 27th. This is at the bottom. I'm talking to my boy. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out, see right there, Thursday, February 27th. You can see in here where in this message itself, you see the whole... right there, 126 is the top for TVIX. I mean, you're gonna see other shit in here, nothing crazy. It's just basically me crying about you know, had somebody had mentioned, I saw Nvidia go way up too fast, BA2, but right there's the important part right there. That day we're doing calculating on the TVIX. 120 was the top coming. That was the case. It was at 120, and then 126 was the original, and there it is today. Just tap that bad boy. Imagine it probably broke through it at this point. Yeah, 126. Yeah, there you are. 128.20 was the top. But this is why, for anyone questioning what the hell, how could someone say that? Because, you know, I've had so many people tell me TVIX cannot be technically analyzed. You're absolutely right. When it's just falling and there's no news and there's nothing to activate fear, 100% TVIX probably cannot be technically analyzed. As soon as fear re-enters the market, it's just like any other stock, and it has this up and down, and there's the proof right there, because look at the 5-day. Look at how it's bouncing on that 5-day. Like, you know, these stocks that get pumped up and they just get pumped, and it's just nonsense taking place, and they just skyrocket. And what's the, you see them ride the 5-day. Well, here you see, that's that maroon line, of course, right there, riding the 5-day. You just see it going right up it right there. And then in addition to that, when it does break down, it's closing gaps just like anything else normally would. Look, you get this gap right here. Yes, it does not close that one right there, but as soon as the gap's up there, it comes back and closes it. Then it goes back up, comes back down, goes back up. So the likelihood that it's going to close this gap is surely possible. Maybe it's going to want to touch somewhere on that Bollinger Band, and then once it comes, it'll come back down and close the gap. One thing I thought was pretty crazy about it, though, is also if you looked at the indicators here, we have the EMA selected, but just go to the 2050-200 SMA and look what you see. I mean, you clear as day see that 200 SMA line, the pink one right there. Well, look what it did today. As soon as it cleared that line, it clears the line, right? Clears up and then uses it as support rather than resistance, which it was for 2 days. Like, resistance couldn't break it, resistance couldn't break it, and then it finally catapults over it, which is now problematic because this means fear has a chance to truly run away now, which, to be quite honest, maybe rightfully it should, considering the fact we got people dying left and right because this coronavirus. They're gonna have to start. You got an state of emergency now in California. I gotta be honest, it's well founded. There's no cure, there's no vaccine. This is problematic. I mean, this thing will sit there in somebody's lungs, as you guys probably already know, and it could literally not affect this person who gets it could not be affected very much by it at all. They can then transmit this thing to 15 other people, of which some of those people will get a pneumonia-like illness and die. I mean, that is just incredibly dangerous to have running around with no cure and no ability to qualm. So anyways, neither here nor there, we're talking about the stock market at this point, and that's what's affecting it. How do we know about the Dow Jones and what it's doing now? And why would we look at the Dow Jones when there's so much other specific stocks to look at? And one important thing to always know is that when you're looking at the Dow Jones, remember, this is an accumulation of the blue chip stocks. If this thing does stuff, they're gonna do stuff naturally. They're correlated, specifically Apple and Microsoft, because there's such big parts of this. But look right there, that was the 200-day SMA the other day. Totally destroyed that thing. All you saw, truthfully, was the gaps get filled. When you saw this nonsense of 1,000, 200%, 1,200 point gains, that's those gaps getting filled. As you can see, all it did was fill to the gap. I mean, it literally just went up right there. Look at that. It just filled the gap. That's it. The gap's been filled right here. That's resolved. Now, I want you to look at this from a different perspective with the EMA line, so you can see how everything, no matter what it is, under the right conditions, will follow technical signals. If you look at this and you change the indicators from SMA to EMA, you just go in, change it to the EMA to, actually, we're doing, are we doing EMA? Yes, EMA, so it's going to be 5, 7, and then 10. Changes to 10, and look at this. Look at how beautiful this lays out for you. The process, as we do with all stocks, you guys always hear me say here, it's about to run into this, or here it's going to bounce off that. We like to swoop up. We see the swoops down. What I mean by swoops is when you get that curling formation, often, I mean, here, I just want to show you something so that you can see. Look at Verastem, which is something that's going on right now. Look at its 3-month. It's these they're like, I wouldn't call them necessarily curls, but it's where this thing like swoops like this. It's where you get these right here, you know, it's where you get those. I'm only pointing because I just looked at this and was shocked at how much it went up. If you go back and you look at, let's look at Codex. Okay, so look, see how it did that? See that swooping? You just kind of try to, it's hard to see them sometimes, but if you actually look, you'll get them. And if you actually look right here, it's like swoop, you know, look at this, swoop, swoop. You can almost see it forming. And actually, I'm about to show you how you can actually see, look at this one right here. It's not just, you see it more because the lines show it to you. You have to have the line set up. And actually, when you look at the Dow, you're going to see it now. See how that looks with the 1 month? It's the opposite direction though. It's like this. Okay, that could be problematic because often that kick out reverse or up or down, meaning after it swoops down and goes up, or when it swoops up and goes down, it kicks it down to some point that can be a line of support. If you're looking at this picture here, there is no lines of support. It already broke the 200, the 20, and the 50 on the Dow Jones. All of them are broken. So where's the line of support? Well, you can actually look at the long term and draw a line of support there, which it just did. Like literally the other day just went there. That's your line of support. That's the big one. You see it right across. See it? Right there. Boom. You just draw the line up to it. And look at how perfect that was. I mean, it's almost doesn't seem reasonable, right? You're looking at it now with me and you're like, what the fuck? Like, that's so stupid. How could that even be a possibility? Because that's the way the algorithms work. That's the way traders work. We all think the same thing. There's a line, we're average, so on and so forth, right? Problem is, if that line breaks, what do you have? Well, you have here. You're going to have the next one you're going to have is going to be down in this range. The problem is many spots are here. The only thing I see in 1 year is that one spot right there. Now that is a 1 week candle. So maybe there was a couple touches there, but you're going to have to go to the 5 year. And of course, like I always show you guys, I always talk to you guys about this. Here we go. Let's draw a picture here. Dow Jones, right? You guys are like, oh, this is the whole Dow Jones. How can you do this? I promise it works. So you can actually see it on the thing. So here, right here's what you're going to want to draw out. This is just going to be like, think of it as the channel. This is your price channel for the most part. You're going to line them up the best you can here. In fact, we might be able to take that all the way down here. Yeah, I mean, you realistically, look at that. You could bring it all the way down there and then bring this one. You're going to have to change this one because the rise was so powerful that you're actually going to have to bring it up like this. And this will give you an idea of where the channel is. And I think, like, if you actually look at it from this perspective, we're now towards the bottom of the channel. So we realistically might be near a bottom here, and there's not a reason to get fearful. Problem is, when bottoms of channels break, the actual selling increases. So selling begets selling begets selling, and it begets selling truly once the bottom of a channel breaks. You often see this with the rising wedges. Like a rising wedge will fill up the corner. Once the bottom of that rising wedge breaks, you guys know me, I love those rising wedges. I play them for put options and all that shit. Man, when these things break, you're talking about, it won't drop like 1,000 points in a day. It will just be consistently losing though for like, I mean, it'll just be like lose a tiny little 50-point gain, 200% loss, 600% loss, 400% gain, 500% loss, 700%, like, I mean, forgive me, 500-point loss, 700-point loss, these big losses and small gains, and you'll just see the price deteriorate, and it'd be, you know, that's when you go back to the 24,000 down to the 21,000. So let's just be cautious. Pay attention to that. You can see the channel very clearly right here. I feel like I've done a good job in kind of illustrating that for you. And we're at the bottom of the channel. So it's either up from here and we're going to see some good stuff. Potentially something's going to happen and we're going to get some stabilization at the bottom end, or not. So let's say we'll save that one. We'll save that. Just kind of look back at that later on. And then last but not least, I feel like it'd be important to take a look at Boeing, because Boeing's such a piece of shit, and I was calling put this thing for so long, and this is what I'm fearful of with a lot of the stocks. Actually, it's what's scary about the Dow Jones when you look at the long term, because if the Dow Jones, remember what I showed you, that line, if it breaks that line, then what happens is it becomes this. And this is always dangerous because look for the last, this is a 5-year chart. Each candle's worth 1 month. Look at how long this thing has been above that middle line right there. This would be the first transfer down, and I'm going to show you Boeing. Boeing is a fantastic example of what happens when a stock goes down. Okay, see what happened? This is when I started saying put the crap out of this thing right here. Once it transferred there, I had no more faith in it because there was so much bad news, and I was wondering what took it so long to even collapse the way it did. But actually, look at the 3 months. See how it's just drawing? Well, now what's happened is if you zoom in on this, look. It's got this, and that's the middle. So there's the middle Bollinger Band and the bottom Bollinger Band. And now look at the EMA lines. They're all coming down very quick, right? And think of it as a herding mechanism, just like with cattle. This is why they call bull market. Look at that. These are your gates. Think of these as your gates, like the side when they're herding the cattle to go have them slaughtered. And this is the way it works. You have the gates, and the gates keep you in line. And those gates can be made more tight, and that's the control of the EMAs, right? The EMAs come up above, or the SMA comes as support. They're more, SMAs more usually like this, where the EMAs follow very tight because they're exponential moving averages. They're related to the volume as well. So as you have this taking place, plus over a short period of time, 5, 7, 10 days, when you're looking at this, consider that for a moment, that you're being driven by algorithms and money managers, right? And these guys are driving the market, and you're following along. And retail too can be a super powerful force, like with Tesla. And look right there, you're getting that driving mechanism, and it's within these gates. Well, once those gates collapse, it takes a lot to break through them. Fear, like if you just boom and fired a gun and all the bulls and cattle freaked out, they smashed through the gates. Well, now you have a situation much like that, COVID-19 being the gun. And when you have it fall through like that, the transition now falls to where the gates are like this. These are your new gates, unless something like support. That support we drew out earlier on the Dow Jones. Here, your support's going to be something different than the Dow Jones one was, because the Dow has been much stronger than Boeing has as just a single component. But look at that. That transition pointed to me very clearly a month ago when I made the video. So I'm putting Boeing, and I feel like you guys should do the same. But one of the things you see there is that just absolute disaster of a chart on the long term, which 5 year is a great way to look at things, because be realistic about it. We always look at stuff for the short term, and then you wonder why, oh, I was wrong, I lost money, why didn't I see it? Well, because we tend to do that. Even I do that all the time. Oh, I'm looking at the intraday, and I'm like losing money on the intraday because I'm so focused and fixated on the 1 and 2 day. But the 5 days screaming to you that this thing's about to explode or be a disaster, the 5 year, forgive me. And the reason why is because that long-term adjustment is what you need to get an idea of where the picture truly is. And if you look at that, that is a bad picture. That is a bad picture, because not only is it collapsing, but look at how it's staying. I want to show you one more thing. Look at how it's staying right now for the moment. It's staying away from the Bollinger Band. So it would need to come down here and tap this Bollinger Band to get that relief, meaning that's when it gets alerted as super cheap, so people come back in and buy, and it's not. It's stabilizing in between, which can be one of the most dangerous things. In fact, that's how run-ups happen so well. See this right here? Do you see how this run-up is so clean, but once it really gets out of there, then people are like, and they get a little cautious again, and then they run it up, but once it gets out, they get a little cautious again. Well, it's the same thing for the down. So long as it's staying like this and the in-between, but not touching anything and just dropping, people let it drop forever, because everyone's like, well, it's not cheap. It's not cheap to the guy last month. It's not cheap to the guy 2 months ago. It needs to be cheap enough for the guy who bought it and lost money. It needs to be now cheap enough. A signal needs to be made that says now it's even cheaper, so that guy buys more and averages down, and so people who haven't bought in a while come, and so the shorts cover. I promise you, man, this could be detrimental. Big problem for Boeing if they don't get out of this disaster they're in. So there's a couple things to look at within the market and kind of how to get the expectations out of things. I'm going to actually shut down this video and start another one that's more specific to a couple other of the runners, like the, especially the biotech runners that have just been going crazy. We'll look at some of those. I'm actually looking at Sorrento again. I mean, I'm looking at this stock and I'm like, I don't know. And Veristem, what a beautiful, I was like shocked. I had no idea it was up to 310. Haven't been paying much attention to those little ones like that. But yep, so I'll shut this one down, start a new one, and then hopefully you guys get an idea of looking at your stuff longer term for now and stop being so freaked out about the here and now. It's not a good reason to do that just because there's a lot of fear. Could be a good buying opportunity, but you saw that channel I drew. Be careful. That's very, very scary. That breaks, that could be problematic. All right, so we'll shut this down, get another one going, and you guys will have access to that video as well. I love you guys. Peace.